The loud crack of the slap echoed across the parking lot so hard that even traffic outside the station seemed to stop for a second. Officers near the entrance froze. Civilians pulled out their phones immediately. A black man wearing a simple gray hoodie stood motionless beside an unmarked vehicle while a furious police officer screamed inches from his face. Nobody realized the man being humiliated was not a criminal, not a suspect, and not even an ordinary citizen. Within minutes, black SUVs would surround the station. Federal agents would storm through the front doors. Trees would collapse in real time, and the officer who threw that slap would discover he had just assaulted one of the most powerful undercover investigators in the country. Rainwater dripped from the edge of the station roof as Marcus Hale calmly stepped out of the unmarked sedan. His clothes looked ordinary on purpose. The hoodie, old jeans, and dusty boots were all part of the assignment. For 6 months, Marcus had been investigating corruption complaints connected to the Harbor District Police Department. Witness intimidation, evidence disappearing, and abuse reports had quietly piled up for years. Internal complaints kept vanishing before reaching state investigators. Marcus worked for a federal anti-corruption task force, and tonight was supposed to be simple. He only needed to meet a confidential informant inside the station. But the moment Officer Grant Dawson spotted Marcus near the entrance, everything changed. Dawson immediately assumed Marcus did not belong there. Without asking questions, he demanded identification aggressively while several officers watched nearby with amused expressions. Marcus stayed calm and explained he had official business inside. Dawson laughed in his face and accused him of loitering near police property. The tension rose fast, and civilians nearby started recording before anyone realized how serious this moment would become. Marcus reached slowly toward his pocket to retrieve identification, but Dawson suddenly grabbed his arm and shoved him backward against the vehicle. Phones lifted higher around. One woman gasped loudly as Dawson continued yelling that people like Marcus always caused trouble around the station. Marcus warned him calmly to stop touching him immediately, but Dawson's anger only grew worse. In one reckless moment, he slapped Marcus across the face hard enough to silence the crowd. Every officer nearby froze after realizing the situation had escalated too far. Marcus slowly looked back at Dawson without fear. Then he quietly pulled out a small black badge wallet hidden beneath his hoodie. The silver federal seal flashed beneath the parking lot lights. Dawson's expression changed instantly, but the damage was already done. Before anyone could react, 3 black SUVs turned sharply into the station entrance. Doors opened simultaneously. Armed federal agents stepped out rapidly while radios exploded with panic inside the building. The station lobby transformed into chaos within seconds. Federal agents entered with calm precision while local officers backed away in confusion. Nobody understood how a simple confrontation outside had suddenly become a federal operation. Marcus walked through the front doors beside the agents while Dawson stood frozen near the entrance, unable to process what was happening. Police chief rushed downstairs demanding answers, but Marcus interrupted him immediately. He revealed that the department had been under federal investigation for months involving misconduct, destroyed evidence, and abuse of authority. The room fell silent. Several officers exchanged nervous looks while others suddenly avoided eye contact altogether. Then Marcus dropped the truth that shattered the station completely. Tonight's meeting with the confidential informant had been leaked internally only 20 minutes earlier, meaning someone inside the department had actively tried sabotaging a federal investigation. Every face in the room changed instantly. Nobody trusted anyone anymore. Inside the interrogation wing, agents began securing computers, files, and bodycam servers before anything could disappear. Officers who once walked proudly through those halls now sat silently against walls, watching federal investigators search desks and offices. Marcus moved carefully through the station, observing reactions more than words. Fear revealed guilt faster than interrogation ever could. One young dispatcher quietly approached Marcus and admitted she had witnessed reports being altered late at night by senior officers. Another officer confessed he had been pressured into remaining silent after seeing unnecessary force used against civilians months earlier. The deeper Marcus looked, the uglier the department became. Behind the polished badges and press conferences existed a culture built on intimidation and silence. And tonight, it was collapsing in front of everyone. Dawson remained isolated near the booking area, while agents reviewed security footage from the parking lot. The slap that once made him feel powerful now played repeatedly across federal monitors. Outside the station, crowds gathered behind barricades as news helicopters circled overhead. Social media exploded with clips showing the exact moment Dawson struck Marcus. Millions watched the confrontation within hours. Reporters described it as one of the most dramatic federal police investigations seen in years. Marcus barely paid attention to the cameras. His focus remained on the people too afraid to speak until now. Witnesses slowly came forward throughout the night. A local shop owner described repeated harassment from officers. A teenage college student admitted he stopped reporting crimes entirely because he feared certain cops more than criminals. Marcus listened carefully to every story, while realizing the investigation had become larger than corruption alone. Trust inside the community had been shattered long before federal agents arrived. Rebuilding it would take far more than arrests. Near midnight, the police chief finally requested a private conversation with Marcus inside his office. The once confident chief now looked exhausted and defeated. He claimed he never approved abuse or corruption inside the department, but Marcus responded with one painful truth. Leadership is responsible not only for actions committed openly, but also for misconduct ignored quietly. The chief lowered his eyes without. Marcus explained that cultures of fear survive because decent people convince themselves silence is safer than confrontation. Meanwhile, innocent people. Before leaving the office, Marcus informed him that several officers, including Dawson, were being placed under immediate suspension pending federal charges and internal review. The chief stared silently at the city skyline outside his office window, knowing the department's reputation might never recover. As dawn approached, exhausted officers sat inside conference rooms waiting for interviews while federal investigators continued processing evidence. Marcus finally stepped outside the station for fresh air. Rain still covered the pavement where the confrontation first happened hours earlier. A young rookie officer approached him nervously and admitted he almost spoke up when Dawson became aggressive earlier that night, but fear stopped him. Marcus looked at him carefully before answering. He explained that courage rarely feels comfortable in the moment. Most people recognize the right thing only after silence becomes regret. The rookie nodded quietly while staring toward the parking lot cameras still recording outside. That conversation stayed with Marcus because it reflected the entire problem within the department. Too many people witnessed wrong behavior. Too few interrupted it by morning. Federal charges against multiple officers were already being prepared. News anchors across the country discussed the shocking downfall of the Harbor District Police Department. Yet the most powerful moment happened quietly inside the station cafeteria. Marcus sat alone drinking coffee when an elderly janitor approached him carefully. The man explained he had worked there nearly 20 years and had watched good officers slowly leave because toxic leadership pushed them out. Then he thanked Marcus for finally exposing what many feared would stay hidden forever. Marcus listened silently because he understood something important. Systems rarely collapse overnight. They decay slowly while people convince themselves problems are temporary, until eventually the truth explodes publicly. Exactly like tonight. Later that afternoon, Marcus addressed reporters outside the station surrounded by federal vehicles and flashing cameras. Journalists demanded to know whether the slap itself triggered the raid. Marcus answered carefully. He explained the investigation was already active, long before the confrontation, but he admitted the incident revealed exactly the kind of unchecked behavior federal investigators had been examining for months. Then he said something that spread across every news network instantly. He said authority means nothing without accountability, and the moment power loses respect for human dignity, it becomes dangerous. The crowd behind reporters fell completely silent hearing those words. Weeks later, the Harbor District Police Department looked completely different. New leadership arrived, federal oversight increased, community meetings replaced closed-door secrecy. Several officers resigned while others faced prosecution. For Marcus, the memory that stayed strongest was not the raid itself. It was the exact moment after the slap when the entire parking lot went silent. Because in that silence, everyone finally saw the truth clearly. A badge alone does not define character. Power alone does not create respect. And sometimes, the people treated like outsiders are the very ones exposing what everyone else was too afraid to confront.